Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be looking at my market outlook and bias. So this is EURUSD. I think I'll be focusing on BTC today, but let's do for EURUSD. Now on the weekly chart, EU is bullish. We are going with the order flow of the markets. Now on the daily time frame, I think everything is quite obvious. This is CRT high, CRT low, which price took. I'm expecting price to take out this low. Then I'm expecting a buy around this expansion week. Buy continuation around this expansion week. But again, because of the ongoings in the country, the ongoings regarding the Strait, the Hormuz Strait, that fundamental news, the buy should start from here. The buy should start from here. Now if we align that with key level mapping, this will be an open and close key level here and here. Then if you map it to your H4 time frame, you'll see those two levels where we are expecting buys to hold. But I need an obvious liquidity. Now as much as this liquidity, I need an obvious liquidity and a confirmation entry to take a buy from here. Although you can be aggressive, but for me I will not be aggressive. That's my view on EURUSD. I'm not bearish until price takes out this low. So that's pretty much it for EU. Then for BTC, let's go ahead and erase the chart. Let's start from the weekly time frame. This is very important. Now I need you to understand something. BTC is a type of pair whose price action has to do with previous patterns. Now for you to understand what is happening, that's why even though the BTC have broken out of the trend, I'm still expecting BTC to sweep this low. Now this thing I'm telling you at the start of BTC analysis is what we call sentiment, market sentiment. I'm expecting to sweep this low because if you look at previous chart patterns which BTC tend to obey, the low is always messed up. It goes with sweep before distribution. You can see sweep before distribution, major sweeps before distribution. But for sell, you will see this type of liquidities. The same thing for sell continuation. BTC will present this type of liquidity. Just keep looking at the price action. You will see how clear this thing is. To keep presenting this type of sell liquidity below the price action. For buy, it will present this type of descending channel. So that's why I'm expecting BTC to still be bearish. But of course, we are not just going to rush into what we know. We are going to align it with our market structure. Now, from the weekly chart, we can identify this as a potential point where I'm expecting price to sweep before it reverses. Now, if we align that with what is happening, BTC tends to give us two sweeps before reversal. So this is the first sweep. If this candle closes with a sweep, that's why I'm skeptical about my buy. You can see the weekly chart. This is a current weekly candle and it will close in just, let's say, 10 hours. 10 hours from now the candle will be closing. If it closes with a sweep, then I'm not going to be taking that buy because it simply means with my trading system. Okay, let me use sentiment first. Now look at this. The second one, then reversal. Now you can see how all these things are playing out, even at all-time high. First, second, reversal. So you can see BTC usually creates two to three sweeps, not less than two sweeps before reversal. So that's why I'm skeptical about this trade. I'm not going to be aggressive, though my buy limit is still on, because if the buy can distribute before the candle close, so that this candle can close above this previous candle, making this a valid break or structure in a weekly time frame, then the buy is solid. But if not, if this price keeps on delaying at this point and closes below, then I know that is probably a trap. Now aligning it with our structure, weekly fake break, daily invalidation. Now the only point that stops liquidity on the daily time frame is what? This point. I want you to understand how I trade. It is 100% easy. once you understand this thing, you stop making some minor mistakes which you do. Now, weekly fake break, daily invalidation of a point that swept liquidity. Now, if price should invalidate this point and mitigate this entire block here, mitigate any of the POI on this entire block here, it can still lead to a buy. But if price ever invalidates this low, it means that I've gotten an order flow realignment, because invalidation of a valid buy setup is what an identification for you to start selling. Hence the reason I said I will not be aggressive on BTC. So let's go back to what we are doing. So you can see price is even rejecting more aggressively, and price is currently reacting to this expansion week. Price is reacting to this expansion week, which on the weekly time frame, which overlaps with the daily order block. Exactly, which overlaps with the daily order block. So we should be careful around this zone, because if you are not careful, you might take unnecessary losses. Again, like I said, if price refuses to mitigate my zone and distribute, then we should expect BTC to sweep out this entire low. That's just it. That's basically it. Now, my overall market structure shift will be positioned at this point. Why? Because I'll explain it now. Why? Because it's a weekly fake break, daily what invalidation, daily invalidation mitigation. Then this zone should be the point that should lead to a buy continuation. If it fails to lead to a buy continuation, then it's my overall market structure shift. Because if you use type 2 of my trading system, the other point that serves liquidity is this low. That means we should sell all the way to take out this low. And if price takes out this low, possibility of it reversing bullish is slim, or else it will use the other block, the unmitigated order block on H4, or that's for another day. Now, if you are using range theory, this low is basic. That's the easiest one. I love using this low. Is a trap. Why? Because this is the low that led to the high, and this is the low that was printed from the last high or the previous high. This is basically what I mean. This is what happened here: high, low. Now, for price to go and sweep this previous high, makes this entire range what a trap, so price can come and take it out. That's basically range theory for you. So that's basically what to expect. So for BTC, we are indecisive for now. We are indecisive. We don't have any clear direction. Now, the next thing you need to take note of: what am I anticipating on the current H4 chart? Where I'm expecting to take my buy is here. Why? Because we have a break of structure here. Now, using liquidity theory, liquidity concept, this candle should serve as your liquidity. Then you use this QMR hidden block, this QMR block here. On H4, you can refine it to a much more perfect entry. On H4, you can see that was how I got the entry, which I posted on Telegram. On H4, stop loss here is about 5 hours, I think. 5 hours. Now, okay, let me explain something before I also explain another thing. Now, for me to take, because this zone can actually lead to a buy continuation, because if you go to a daily time frame also, there was no fake break here, so the daily time frame is solid. On H4 time frame, on H4, my trading system suggests that this zone will be invalidated. Why? Because FPS invalidation mitigation. On the other hand, TRT low stops here, so possibility of price buying from here is possible, but it's also quite slim. So this is a sell setup for you. You have a break at this point, then drop one time frame lower. This high swept liquidity, so it's going to be invalidated. Price mitigates this open and close sell key level of that entire order block, and now you see that price is selling. So that's easily what is happening. Price is selling, though I saw the sell, but I intentionally missed it because we are on discount level. You should not be aggressive in your sell execution. Now, for refinement, if you go to 1 hour time frame, you can refine your entries to this entire zone. Let me delete this. To this entire zone only. Now for my key level freaks, you can just use the open and close zone, or if you want to get let's say sniper entry, you can use the direct key level entry. But just know that for you to use this point, possibility of price picking you before distribution is also quite slim. So these are the 3 levels or 4 levels of entry. But for me personally, I like using this open and close because it aligns where it's not making you too greedy, and it's not making you like minimizing your stop loss and maximizing your wins profitably, other than targeting the key level, which might work, but you are likely to miss the entire trade. Now from this, we have converted this from a 5-hour setup to an 8-hour setup. That's basically it. I've converted it from a 5-hour setup to an 8-hour setup. So that's basically it. But if you don't want to miss a trade at all, use the entire order block, giving you a 6-hour setup. But if you use the QMR, which I showed you, overlapping the daily time frame, this daily time frame QMR, that would be a 5 point something hour, approximately 5-hour setup. This one will be approximately 7-hour setup. So that is basically it. That's what I have for BTC. Then for gold, these are the 3 pairs I trade for gold. What's going on for gold? I also posted this on the group. Now let's erase everything on gold. Go back to the weekly time frame. First, we are starting a new week. Now this is a weekly range. So we know that normally price should come take this low out, but we know that that is also understandable that price will not do that. So overlap it with what order flow. So let's say weekly fake break. Remember the trading system, weekly fake break. Daily invalidation. Now you can see weekly fake break happened here, but on a daily time frame you can see another fake break here. So daily invalidation, that means this low is definitely going to be taken. I'll not be expecting any buy to hold at this zone. Even if it later holds, fine and good, but I'll not be expecting any buy to hold at this zone. So weekly fake break, daily invalidation. Now for mitigation should happen anywhere here, anywhere around this expansion week. That's where the mitigation should take place, anywhere around that expansion week. But for me, I have levels I marked out. This key level is a possible point of entry. For price, we have a lot of setups. We have the breaker block key level here, and this key level here, and the QMR key level here, and the open and close key level here. So you should know the one which you like. For me, I use breaker block only. I don't use other blocks. Breaker blocks and QMR, and this is the best possible fit for my entry. That's why I had this, and I lock it up because it's a good possible point for my entry. Then I go to my line chart to see that zone is very clear. Now if you look at the line chart, you have something like this break. You have something like this, which is your basic SMC engineer liquidity concept, mitigation, distribution. So that's basically it for gold. Now let's go back to the main candlestick chart. If you go to H4, you can see where this overlaps. Now if I'm to take a trade on gold, I think it will be here. But though I don't like how the H4 view is, but it should be here, from here to this high. That's my setup for gold. I'm actually seeing this setup now. Though from H4, the setup you have, the visible setup is at this point. But if you overlap this with H1, you will see that that zone is already mitigated. Though the QMR is still clear but not super clear, the zone is entirely mitigated, and it's not looking good at all. Then if we look at the expansion week, something I like to do, use 50% of the expansion week to look for entries, possible entry. Expansion week. Let's drop down to H4. We drop down to H4, drop down to H1, and we have another possible point of entry. This QMR key level. From that QMR, overlapping it with this other block, I have a lot of possible buys on gold. But of course, if they are meaning, that's a sign that you should not be aggressive. Else you just want to, you have enough to risk. If not, it's not advisable to be aggressive at this point. Now I have buy on gold here. The second one is here. But I refined it with my system. Though I know the possibility of it happening is also quite slim. I refined it with my system. I think I got the setup here. Let me check. Yeah, that's where the setup is. I got the setup here. Not the break and validation, yes. This is the setup. This is the second buy I have on gold. That was a refined entry on gold. So that was super refined. Now if that happens, that would be about 23 hours, and it looks impossible. But I've used that type of setup on multiple occasions and it played that fine. You can use the direct key level at this zone. Using this as the liquidity, it is the key level. Buyers can mitigate it and distribute. In the same way, that was how I got the minimal entry at this zone, which I also posted. So that's pretty much it. These are my two biases on all these setups. So other than that, I have absolutely nothing. As you can see, we are still bullish. I'm still bullish on EU, expecting buy continuations from here. Using order flow suggests that we are still bullish regardless of whatever anyone is saying. BTC depends on how the weekly candle closes. I'm expecting a buy here. On gold, I'm expecting a buy either from here or from here, any of these zones. That's pretty much it. And without further ado, I will see you guys later. Okay, so for the trades which I took last week, it's quite simple. Let's erase everything. The trade was simple. Looked at the daily time frame. I looked at the daily time frame. Now the daily time frame, price swept the high. Like if you watch my previous video, you see when I talked about ranges and CRT. This is your direct CRT, which can serve as your liquidity. The law of that CRT should serve as your liquidity. And you can say the law of that CRT overlaps with our H4 time frame liquidity. This is CRT, is a liquidity. Now you have this other block at this zone. But remember, this is the range. From this high to this low is a range. There's a possibility also of price invalidating the entire range. So you can just place your entry directly, since the CRT is, as long as the CRT is presented as your liquidity and everything is 100% valid, just execute your trade. Execute your trade. That's how I got this set up last week, though I could not execute it because of some psychological reasons. Goes above this high. As easy as that. Now, assuming we were to use confirmation entry, let's see. I saw a confirmation entry, but I never liked it because it never gave me any valid break or structure. I was expecting price to break this high before I get a confirmation, but that did not happen. Price did not break that high. Okay, actually it did, yeah. Price took that high, but I was not yet convinced, though on that day I never saw the break. I never saw it very well clearly. So price broke the high. I saw this key level entry, but it was not looking good for me, so I missed out on the trade. That was the only setup I had last week. This could have been about 6 hours. So that's basically it for EURUSD. That's just it for gold. For gold, I marked out the buy. At this zone. Marked out the buy at this zone on gold. But again, I did not execute. Now, the reason why I did not execute this one was quite obvious. It was because of the news. So it happened, and I'm not angry at myself that I missed the setup. It's actually something good, but I missed it. Now let's say okay. Now the second one is the last one is BTC. This buy setup. I told you people about the breaker block. That it might have a buy at the breaker block because the breaker block key level is super clear. But we will not be aggressive as always. I don't take breaker block entries directly. So what did I do? Now if you look at this H1 chart, it's quite obvious. Engineer liquidity. This zone should lead to what? Sell continuation. But what happened? Price invalidated it, giving me what? Another flow or shift. Immediately that happened. Now if you look at this, we have what? A fake break. Now the theory suggests fake break, invalidation of a point that swept liquidity. Which point swept liquidity? This low swept liquidity, and we have an unmitigated key level here, so I placed my entry directly there. Now this is where your partials can save you, and you also that play out. I placed my entry here, or I never splitted my position. My position was just one, it was not being split for partials and direct tipping. Normally I would aim for the high and eventually get stopped out, but price gave me 5 hours and I exited at 5 hours before the reversal, 5 hours directly before the reversal. So that's basically it. See you guys later.